Emergency personnel in Lentine County were prompted to respond to a distress call on the gloomy evening of September 27, 2020, which would reveal a tragic story of love, ambition, and confrontation. Ashley Benfield was the caller, and she was clearly upset, frantically stating that she had acted in self-defense during a turbulent home situation. Around 6 p.m., dispatchers logged Ashley's call, which provided a terrifying account of a neighbor woman, now known as Ashley, who had allegedly sought shelter at a nearby house, her cries for assistance resonating through the nighttime air. The story she told was gruesomely graphic. She claimed to be escaping her own husband, Douglas Benfield, who she said had recently attacked her in their joint residence. There was tension and confusion in the first details that were given to the responding officers. Ashley did not match the typical victim stereotype, despite being clearly shaken. There were reports that she was carrying a gun. As law enforcement arrived at the scene, they discovered Douglas Benfield, Ashley's husband, in their bedroom, wounded by 2 gunshot wounds, one to the leg, another to the chest. The remnants of the incident were scattered across the room. Bullet holes riddled the walls. Shell casings from a .45 caliber pistol lay nearby, stark evidence of the lethal encounter that had transpired moments earlier. Emergency personnel moved Douglas Benfield quickly to a nearby hospital, despite the severity of his wounds, in an attempt to preserve his life. Sadly, the medical attempts were ineffective, and an hour after being admitted, Douglas passed away from his wounds, bringing an abrupt end to a life that had been dominated by a complex web of personal and professional obligations. Following the incident, police and other law enforcement personnel thoroughly searched the site, assembling pieces of evidence and interviewing Ashley Benfield in depth. Throughout these crucial hours, she maintained a composed composure, while investigators debated whether or not her claims that she had acted in self-defense were credible. Despite the gravity of the situation, Ashley was not detained that fateful night, prompting a detailed and exhaustive investigation into the circumstances surrounding Douglas Benfield's untimely demise. The focus of the research gradually switched to unraveling the complex web of the Benfields' turbulent relationship, which was marked by sharp differences in age, goals, and personal problems. Despite its initial promise, Ashley and Douglas's union had all the makings of a stormy voyage filled with emotional upheavals, legal battles, and sharp ideological differences. We must examine Ashley and Douglas Benfield's lives in order to fully understand the complexities that culminated in that terrible September evening. Their stories are filled with love, ambition, and ultimately sad outcomes. The story of love and strife between Ashley and Douglas Benfield started in the most unlikely of places, the political frenzy of 2016. Their first meeting at a Republican fundraiser function in Palm Beach, Florida, seemed to defy expectations, laying the groundwork for a whirlwind affair that would entwine political intrigue, ballet aspirations, and personal conflict. Ashley Benfield, then 24 years old, was heavily involved in political activities and putting in a lot of overtime at Donald Trump's Sarasota campaign headquarters when they first met. Her influence went beyond traditional limits. She organized demonstrations, inspired evangelicals, and personified the passionate essence of her political beliefs. Yet, amidst the clamor of campaign trails and partisan fervor, Ashley harbored aspirations that transcended the political arena, dreams rooted in the delicate artistry of ballet. By comparison, Douglas Benfield was a symbol of steadiness and achievement. Douglas, who was 30 years Ashley's senior, was from Charleston, South Carolina, and had a successful background as a Navy pilot, as well as experience in real estate and hospitality. He was also a successful consultant in the defense and technology sectors. Just a year before, Douglas had become a widow and was trying to balance his own goals with the challenges of being a single father. Their seemingly disparate paths came together because they both had a strong fondness for firearms and shared conservative views, which highlighted their growing bond. An indisputable energy between them spurred the romance, which in just 13 days resulted in marriage. Douglas's hometown hosted a small wedding ceremony that was attended by only a few people, including his close friend and Episcopal pastor Trip Cormany. But beneath the surface of blissful marriage, there were cracks that would eventually become more obvious. Ashley's aspirations, driven by her desire to establish herself in the ballet industry, collided with Douglas's obligations as a father and businessman. A combined venture driven by Ashley's aspirations and Douglas's business sense, the American National Ballet's founding in Charleston swiftly descended into a hotbed of conflict and legal battles. The idea of a broad ballet company with dancers from all backgrounds and body types quickly ran afoul of budgetary difficulties and managerial disputes. The stress was increased when Ashley withdrew from active participation owing to a rumored pregnancy, leaving Douglas to forge ahead on his own across the challenging seas of artistic endeavor. Tensions in their personal relationship grew as the venture failed amid court cases and crushed hopes. Ashley's tense connection with Eva, Douglas's adolescent daughter, made the family strife even worse and clouded their common goals. Their once promising partnership was falling apart in front of them due to mismatched goals and brewing tensions. The Benfields' relationship fluctuated from optimism to acrimony amid these turbulent dynamics, ending in a dramatic crossroads that would determine their fate. Ashley Benfield, in the middle of their changing personal and professional dynamics, had a burning desire that went beyond politics and interpersonal relationships, an ambition with its roots in the dreamlike world of dance. She and Douglas Benfield had the idea to start the American National Ballet, an endeavor that would transform the ballet world by valuing diversity and creative ingenuity. Ashley Benfield's love of ballet was more than just a pastime. It was a goal she had for the rest of her life, driven by her training as a dancer and her desire to see the ballet community be inclusive. Her vision went beyond performing to include starting both a for-profit school and a charity ballet company. The objective to reinvent ballet's elite traditions and promote a new era of artistic expression was at the core of her vision, to break down conventional barriers and welcome dancers of all nations and body shapes. With the opening of the American National Ballet in Charleston, South Carolina, in the summer of 2017, Ashley and Douglas Benfield set off on their ambitious adventure. Aspiring dancers from all over the world were enticed to the project by the prospect of a groundbreaking ballet school that placed a high value on artistic diversity and community involvement. The auditions started, and the initial excitement for the project seemed ready to make Ashley's dream a reality. But under all the optimism were the seeds of conflict and financial pressure, as disagreements about employment practices and contractual duties with dancers and choreographers surfaced. The American National Ballet rapidly found itself in legal hot water. The young company's reputation was damaged by claims of wrongful termination and contract breach, which raised questions about its operational reliability and financial stability. Ashley's departure from active participation due to health issues stemming from her alleged pregnancy exacerbated the partnership's strain as tensions mounted. Douglas Benfield battled to keep the business afloat in the face of rising legal costs and managerial instability after being left to navigate the turbulent seas alone, due to legal disputes and financial difficulties that called into question the institution's fundamental values. The initial plan for a revolutionary dance school started to fall apart. The future of the American National Ballet was in jeopardy by late 2017, as internal tensions and outside pressure increased. Attempts to save the enterprise through restructuring and managerial changes proved to be ineffective. Disillusioned by unfulfilled promises and internal strife, the dancers left in large numbers, shattering the company's once bright future. After its demise, Ashley Benfield's vision of redefining ballet's cultural environment came to an abrupt end as the American National Ballet faced insolvency and dissolution. The venture's history, marred by legal troubles and financial collapse, highlighted the vulnerability of artistic aspirations in the face of harsh commercial and interpersonal reality. Ashley and Douglas Benfield's relationship grew more tense and turbulent as they managed their entwined personal and professional lives. Despite their common goals and desires, tensions between them simmered beneath the surface, made worse by their own relationships and outside influences. The primary cause of the conflict in the Benfield household was Eva, Douglas Benfield's daughter from a previous marriage. Ashley's adjustment into the family was greatly hampered by Eva's presence in their lives. A split that grew over time between Ashley and Eva was caused by their differing ages, as well as their divergent personalities and priorities. Eva found it difficult to accept Ashley as a parent because she was still grieving the loss of her mother and getting used to her father's new relationship. Their relationship worsened due to miscommunications and conflicting allegiances to Douglas. The conflict between Ashley and Eva's expectations and emotional demands increased, further escalating the family strife in the home. The Benfield family was entangled in court disputes and accusations against this background of familial strife, which further strained ties and put allegiances to the test. Ashley Benfield's accusations against Douglas intensified over time, leading to charges that upended their tenuous home life. The most startling accusations made against Douglas were those of poisoning made by Ashley. She claimed that he had purposefully poisoned her, pointing to odd symptoms and purported toxicity in her body. Despite being looked into, these accusations were unfounded and made the couple more enmity. Ashley Benfield accused Douglas of abusive behavior and possessive tendencies, in addition to the poisoning charges. She presented an account of violent episodes and emotional blackmail, describing a turbulent relationship full of anxiety and psychological stress. Douglas fiercely refuted these charges in response, claiming his innocence and casting doubt on Ashley's veracity. The ensuing court cases and probes clouded their once promising marriage and exacerbated the already precarious relationships within the family. Ashley and Douglas Benfield were about to start a new chapter in Maryland in the late summer of 2020. With the relocation, their partnership would hopefully be freed from the turbulent legal disputes and interpersonal tensions that had dogged it. The trip to Maryland represented both promise and escape for Ashley, a once promising ballet dancer who aspired to start her own ballet company. Although she and her husband Douglas had persevered through the storm of allegations and legal issues together, their marriage was marred by their previous arguments and the attention of the public. Tensions were simmering beneath the surface of their Virginia suburban house as they packed up their belongings. Unspoken concerns and unresolved frustrations pervaded the air. Ashley carefully folded pricey outfits and ballet shoes, remnants of a dream ruined by accusations of personal treachery and financial malpractice. Douglas's expression grew more and more tense as he went through paperwork covered with court summonses and legal notices, reminders of a protracted legal struggle that had destroyed their money and soured their marriage. Suppressed feelings for a long time finally came to a head on a tragic September day. Conflicting tales and broken hearts have left the details of what happened in the moments before the tragic collision unclear. Ashley claimed that while they were going through their belongings in the dark living area, an argument broke out, which had before been heavy with hope and enthusiasm for a fresh start, had turned into a furnace of bitterness and regret. With an unfiltered blend of annoyance and rage in his voice, Douglas charged Ashley with undermining their hopes and turning his daughter Eva against him. The piercing, accusing sound of his words echoed off the walls like a funeral bell. Ashley tried to talk to him and tried to close the gap that was growing between them, her own feelings a tumultuous mixture of grief and indignation. However, rationality abandoned them, overpowered by the overwhelming quiet of unsaid realities and broken assurances. Ashley stated that after a furious altercation, Douglas lunged at her with a kitchen knife, a remnant of their common culinary ambitions that had been transformed into a destructive weapon. Douglas's face was twisted with wrath and agony. Her hands were clenched with fear, that primordial need that hides in the dark corners of the human heart. Ashley acted in self-defense, a legal and moral duty that would soon be examined under the harsh light of public scrutiny and legal debate. In a desperate attempt to protect herself and save what was left of her broken existence, the events that transpired thereafter happened in a tragically inevitable manner. The agonized wails of mortal horror split the thick, stifling silence that had hovered over them like a blanket. Ashley grabbed hold of a hefty decorative sculpture that was nearby. Its elaborate features had turned into a death harbinger, and her hands were shaking from adrenaline and fear. She moved as quickly as an instinct, striking Douglas with such force that it changed their lives forever and sent shockwaves into the very fabric of their common past. After that, half-truths and shattered memories combined to create a fractured mosaic that was reality. Ashley was the one who called emergency services, her mind a raging sea of opposing emotions, a desperate cry for redemption, forgiveness, and a chance to restore the broken pieces of her life. Douglas's life was taken in an instant of unbridled rage and irreversible loss. And paramedics, their features carved with a mixture of pity and professional detachment, arrived too late to save him. Ashley was taken into custody at the scene, her hands restrained by the icy steel manacles of the legal system, having now been assigned the roles of both offender and victim. Manslaughter accusations, a terrifying reminder of death's inexorable grasp, lingered over her like a phantom, a reminder of the frailty of life and death's fragile balance. The case would play out over the next few days and weeks, with all the grim inevitableness of a Greek tragedy, a story arc molded by the demands of justice, the whims of the legal system, and the eternal mysteries of human nature. Ashley Benfield found herself entangled in a convoluted legal maze full of moral dilemmas as a result of the events of that September day. She was thrown into a legal system that would examine every move she made, analyze her motivations, and balance the delicate line between mercy and justice as the cries of sirens receded into the distance. Following the tragically short life of Douglas Benfield, Ashley was apprehended on the spot. Manslaughter was the charge that hovered over her like a dark, menacing cloud, threatening to ruin her future. She was forced to face the harsh reality of her actions in the chilly, impersonal police station, and the weight of Douglas's murder was bearing down on her relentlessly. The court case proceeded in its early stages with all the somber formality of a ceremonial dance. Using a plethora of forensic evidence and witness testimony, the prosecution attempted to dissect Ashley's story in order to reveal the true nature of human weakness and to show Ashley as a victim of envy and fury. For Ashley, the courtroom transformed into a platform for judgment, where 12 strangers sworn to fairness would decide her destiny. However, Ashley's defense team produced a formidable armory of legal defenses, prominent among them the contentious Stand Your Ground defense, to counter the barrage of charges and innuendos. This legal theory, which was enshrined in Maryland law, gave people the right to use lethal force to defend themselves if they felt that their lives were in immediate danger. This legal concept would serve as the cornerstone of Ashley's defense plan. Ashley's claim that her actions were motivated by a basic urge for self-preservation in the face of death was the main tenet of her argument. Her legal team painstakingly reconstructed the explosive emotional landscape that had prompted Douglas's terrible demise by carefully dissecting the events leading up to the fatal encounter. The turbulent nature of their relationship and the simmering conflicts that had festered behind the surface of marital happiness were attested to by witnesses. Public opinion became starkly divided as the legal battle continued, demonstrating the polarizing nature of self-defense laws and the complexity of interpersonal interactions. Ashley's undying devotion to her daughter Eva and her unwavering drive to restore her broken life served as rallying points for her supporters. However, her acts were denounced by many as a flagrant act of violence and a breach of the sanctity of human life that went beyond legal formalities. Ashley's future would be determined in the courtroom, which turned into a trial. In the ring of jurisprudence, legal arguments fought like titans, with both sides attempting to persuade the jury with convincing stories and indisputable proof. Divergent expert witness interpretations of the forensic evidence were provided. Each testimony was a patchwork of inherent doubt mixed with scientific certainty. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with the trial proceeding with all the meticulous planning of a grand-scale chess match. The judges oversaw Ashley's legal ordeal with stoic neutrality, and their decision shaped its course. In the heat of legal battle, prosecutors and defense lawyers sparred with rhetorical sharpness, honing their arguments to razor-sharp accuracy. Ashley was experiencing a wide range of emotions during the legal upheaval, including anger, regret, and defiance. Her life had devolved into a picture of dashed hopes and incomprehensible inconsistencies, with every court case serving as a sobering reminder of the impermanence of human existence and the relentless pursuit of justice. A tapestry of unresolved questions and unmet dreams was left in the aftermath of the Ashley and Douglas Benfield case, as the gavel dropped and the sounds of legal deliberation vanished into the mists of time. Their relationship was characterized by the collision of love and treachery, ambition and adversity, a narrative arc that defied easy classification and tested the foundation of social standards. Following Douglas's untimely demise, rumors and speculations ran rampant in the public discourse's hallways. What had brought a partnership that had once shown promise to the verge of hopelessness and desperation? Was it the pressure of unsettled finances, the weight of unfulfilled expectations, or the corrosive power of seething resentment? The solutions remained evasive, hidden under a mountain of court jargon and first-hand accounts. Ashley saw the trial as a voyage of self-discovery, filled with moments of intense reflection and startling realization. In an attempt to make sense of the inexplicable, she pieced together memories and emotions from the broken relationship that left her struggling with broken pieces. Her love for Douglas had grown from being a ray of light in an otherwise hopeless world to a moving reminder of the brittleness of human connection and the unstoppable march of time. Ashley Benfield's case brought to light the intricacies of self-defense laws, which are legal frameworks intended to strike a balance between the necessity of individual safety and the value of human life. The stand your ground argument, which blurs the distinction between use of lawful force and wanton assault, has become a contentious legal concept in Maryland and many other states. Legal experts and social analysts see Ashley's case as a microcosm of larger discussions about the boundaries of self-defense and the moral obligations associated with using lethal force. Proponents fiercely defended the right to self-defense and individual sovereignty in the face of impending threat. Critics, however, issued a warning over the possibility of misuse and the unsettling effects of legal impunity in fatality situations. As Ashley navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the legal system, she confronted not only the specter of guilt and innocence, but also the enduring legacy of Douglas's untimely death. Her journey, marked by moments of despair and fleeting glimmers of hope, embodied the profound complexities of human existence and the inescapable burden of consequence. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the tragic case of Ashley and Douglas Benfield. Their story serves as a stark reminder of the fragile complexities of human relationships and the profound consequences of our actions.